Hi there, and thanks for joining Stephen Brown and Tony from AVRillo. We've had loads, or I personally have had loads of fun and games. So we're going to be trialing something very different today. StreamYard. Zoom, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to be working with Facebook Live. So we're going to give this a go. So thanks very much for joining us. We just wait for, hi Mark Newton, nice to see you. We're just going to wait, Tony, if that's okay, for a few more people to come on. I think we've got about 8 at the moment. So if you are on here, please would you be kind enough to like and share the page and try and get this message out to as many agents as we can. Tony is an exceptional lawyer, conveyancer, who I've had the pleasure of dealing with for about 20 years now.
We started young, Stephen.
We did. I think I'm winning in the haircut stakes at the moment. So hi Luke, thanks for joining us. Hi Max, thanks for joining us as well. So try and get a few more people. Thanks for all your questions. We've got quite a few questions, so I'm going to ask Tony, and hopefully he will be able to answer them. I'm sure he will, as he's an expert. Hi Andy, nice to see you. Catching you up. Trim, Chris, nice to see you too. Please keep on liking it and sharing it, and let's get the message out. Try and get as many people as we can on here. So thanks a lot. So Tony, little introduction. Yes. Hi Paul Rolfe. So Tony, I hope your Scottish law is very good actually.
Scottish law?
Yeah, because we've now got a Scottish agent on here. So,
oh wow, gosh, yeah.
Cool. Hi Angela, sunny South Shields. I wish it was sunny down in London. It's been pouring with rain, so I suppose it had to come sometime. But thanks for joining us. So Tony, who are you? Hi Patience, thanks for joining us as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and thanks for coming on here today. Really grateful for your time, and thank you for my being patient with my technical stuff.
Well, you're an IT genius, Stephen. That's what I say.
Yeah, so, as Luke Sinclair keeps on telling me, definitely.
So I'm one of the co-founders of AVRillo solicitors. So we started off as estate agents. So that was our background. We started off as estate agents. We kind of got essentially fed up all the hard work we were doing. We weren't making the money that we wanted to make. And when we analysed it, we were actually found that actually the lawyers were letting us down, and they weren't getting deals through. They were rude to our clients, affecting our reputation. So we made a decision a long time ago to actually qualify as lawyers. So we did eventually have a state agency business and a solicitor's business, and it's now morphed into AVRillo. We're a sort of medium-sized company, work nationwide, but we got the ethos of a good estate agent. I mean, we learned everything about client care through agency, so see things differently to most lawyers, I would say.
Okay.
And I worked with you a long time when you're at Green & Co, didn't I?
Yeah, we have the pleasure of.
It must have been good for you to use that.
It was. I like the fact that I could get hold of you at 5 o'clock in the morning and go through all the different sales and see what we needed to get done over the day. So you were exceptional to help me. So thank you. So just a few shout outs. Hello, Governor. Thanks for joining us. Steve, glad to see we've got all the Spurs players in the background, especially for you. Adrian, thanks for joining us. Hine, thanks for joining us. Glenn, thanks for joining us as well. Please keep on liking it, keep on sharing it. Let's get the message out. So thank you. Hi, Andrea, again from Scotland. So remember, it's missives, not exchanges. Hi, Christian. Thanks for joining us as well on this live. Christian's doing this Agents to Help, which is great. And Christian, I hope this helps that. Simon, thanks for joining us. Up the Spurs. So, Tony, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm going to put you on the spot. So why is it important to know about conveyancing what is important to know about conveyancing during the lockdown, please?
Well, I think it's really lots of people are confused about what you can and can't do. So it's important, agents are the trusted advisor to their clients, and that's what we get paid for, isn't it? So it's important that you know what you're doing. It's important for another reason, is that if you can get any deals through now, you've got to get them through, haven't you? Because everything now in your pipeline, whatever you can get through, will keep your office running. That's the likelihood between you staying open and not staying open. So you need to know what you can get exchanged. I think you also need to know, because you need to, this massive pipeline that people got building up. I mean, something Zoopla this morning, there's 337,000 properties that are in people's pipeline. They need to be nurtured and kept going. So you need to know what the law is. So when you're speaking to your clients, you can tell them what it is. They're looking for you for advice. And the third reason you need to know it is because if you got that knowledge, you should be marketing it. You should be marketing your knowledge, because at the moment, lots of agents are not doing much. If you've got an extra bit of knowledge where you can say to people, look, you can do X, Y, and Z, that might be the difference between you winning the instruction or not. So I think this is really important, because really, agents at the moment, we haven't got that much to say to clients about the property, but what we can say is, look, get ready for the next stage of what's going to happen. So I think it's really important, actually.
So there are still some deals going through. I know quite a few of my clients are having exchanges and completions simultaneously, but some are complaining that some solicitors aren't open at this time. Any advice you can give them on that, or you just got to get on with it?
I think let's look at what the law is. Let's look at what the guide. So what the law basically said, what the government has said is, really, we should all be saying to our clients is, hold on, just wait until the lockdown finishes. Now, obviously, that's not completely practical, is it? Because people actually want to exchange contracts, people want to move. So there are exceptions, okay? So what the law says is if you've got a normal property, you haven't exchanged contracts, you shouldn't really be able to exchange. They're trying to discourage you from exchanging, but there's an exception to that. So what they say is, if you can't agree on the other dates, if you can't agree to delay it, you can go ahead, but you've got to put a provision in the contract. That's what they say. But there's a problem there. Okay, so because there's no set standard clause that anyone can put into their contracts. Because this is a new thing, it's never happened before. So who knows, if you do a clause properly, you have to take into account mortgages being withdrawn, people losing their jobs, people in the chain being ill, your clients being ill. So it's just not working. So one of the problems that agents are telling me about at the moment is that contracts are ready to exchange, but they're not exchanging because the lawyers are arguing about the clause. Well, they're arguing about the clause because a clause doesn't exist. The Law Society, the government, they didn't lay down, this is what you should use. If they laid down a clause and say, look, use this one, it will cover you, it would have been fine, but they haven't got that. So lawyers now are really worried about it all, because they don't want to be sued. They want to just exchange contracts and then be sued at completion if it doesn't go ahead.
Okay, so I've got Max has just come on to say that he's got a couple going through with a coronavirus clause. Is that something that you can talk about and help?
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. So what you've got coronavirus clause is a bit confusing. You've got two stages. You've got a clause that you can put in before exchange of contracts. So that's the one that's delaying everyone, because people are not agreeing on what the terms are. There's no real clause that protects everyone. Even the Law Society, said that there's no clause, they've not issued anything. And that's causing a delay. My advice is, and what the general profession is going towards a simultaneous, so doing exchange completion on the same day. So it's a lot of work at the moment, because you've still got to organise the mortgage funds. The mortgage funds are taking a lot longer than normal to get through. We tried to get a transaction through last week, and we got it through. We had to wait 2 hours on the phone for the lender because they were 80% down on their capacity. So SIMs are very difficult, but that is by way the safest ways to do it. And that's really, although you're not exchanging, it leads to an early completion. So that's the way you should be going, I think. And most big companies, most companies that specialise in conveyancing, that's what they're trying to do, I think.
Okay, lovely. So Max come back and say these are pre-exchange clauses as well.
Yeah, so pre-exchange clauses, the answer on that is, there's no set standard pre-exchange clause. It's a matter of each lawyer discussing with each other, is this clause adequate to protect you? The practical problem is there's no lawyer, no conveyancer, no barrister, no one knows what the right clause to put into that agreement is. So you can see lawyers argue about tiny pieces of the clause. These clauses are actually sometimes bigger than the original contract. So that's what's impacting on the timescales, because lawyers are just banging their heads together because no one knows what the right clause is. So it's delaying things. So some of the advice that really we're giving people is that you know, if you can, just try and organise it as a stint. It's probably going to be faster to get to completion than spending 10 days arguing about what the clause should be. So that's the reality. And on top of that, the question one of the guys asked Stephen is hard getting hold of lawyers. I mean, lawyers are notoriously difficult to get hold of, but you know, it's just real life. A lot of the people on furlough, a lot of solicitors we're coming across, we can't get hold of them because they're closed, you know, completely, or maybe they just answer the phone one day a week. So it is hard getting hold of people.
Okay, thank you. So again, thanks, Richard, for joining us. Thanks for Michelle for joining us. Again, please like it, share it. Let's get some other agents involved in it as well, please. So you talk about communication. How do solicitors prefer to be communicated? Because I've come into solicitors' offices and I've seen your stack high of cases there. So is there a better way to be dealing with solicitors? Is there a good way? What do you prefer? Is there time? I appreciate at the moment we're in unprecedented times. So hi Claire, hi Rav. So Rav just said most of solicitors have been furloughed and office managers are looking after the files. I don't know what's happening with you.
Yeah, so what we're doing, it's different because everyone's got business, they're trying to keep their cash flow. People are furloughing staff. So we're in a fortunate position. If we've got, you know, agency background, we've always structured it right. So for us, you know, we've got capacity, we've done it, that we are progressing our case. The cases that can get to exchange, we're progressing all day, and actually it's still pretty busy for us. But where we're slowing down, we're dependent on third parties. So we're dependent on the other side. If they're not in, you can't exchange contracts. We're dependent on search providers. You know, if they're search, local authorities are closing. You know, so it's difficult to get transactions through, but we're still getting a good volume of transactions through. In terms of communication to lawyers, I mean, I got a bit of a smile on my face because, you know, I think what really counts is what form of communication can get the deal through. And for me as a former agent, it's all about telephone calls. So we actually encourage people to take the call. I think you'll find that's probably different with other people. And I think the advice I can give to you if you're trying to speak to a solicitor is call them and ask reasonable questions. You know, sometimes it is very, very frustrating for lawyers when someone calls on day one, can you exchange contracts? Well, you know, you can't.
Well, why not? What's the matter with you? I thought you were Superman. I thought that's what solicitors did.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Actually, that's a massive point when it comes to people being educated when they are file chasing, you know, because it's much different somebody coming along and saying, look, Tony, last week we spoke and you said the searches should be back in a week's time. I wanted to make sure that the searches have come back, rather than saying, right, have we exchanged yet? Well, I told you a week ago we're waiting for the searches. You know, so you have to make the questions relevant to the solicitor to make sure. But then from your point of view, potentially you may be in a chain as well. So you're dealing with the other solicitor. You've got 3 or 4 agents also chasing you as well to find out what's going on. And if you've got 50, 60 cases at a time, potentially there could be 180 people communicating you, wanting your time, and you're never going to get your work done, are you?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's all about communication, Stephen, and we tried very hard to do something about that. So we've got 24/7 login. That's helpful for people. We kind of automatic updates and things like this. But communication it's a bane of people's lives in a way if you've got so much work on, which solicitors sometimes have. So I think from our point of view, we have all systems in place to be able to people to be automatically updated. But really, we're there to pick up the phone. I mean, I think that's really what you should be doing. But I think it comes down to your relation. I mean, I'm sure you've got some good people on the line, and they've all got good relationships with their lawyers. The art really of a conveyancing transaction is to get, you know, work with your lawyers, the people you're working with now, and make sure that you're working as a team. I think that's really the solution for it. You know, there's lots of prop tech, there's lots of stuff that you can do. I think ultimately it always comes down to relationships, and is your lawyer as motivated as you to get the transaction through?
So do you think now, you know, everybody's gone Zoom mad and StreamYard mad and whatever, if we now were able to do a Zoom call like this, so as an agent, I've just been instructed on the vendor's property, I want to get, for me, time on market's really important. I want to get that quickly. Do you think now I could get a solicitor to go to a vendor to say, thanks very much for instructing me. What I like to do is get you sale ready. I'm going to get a solicitor, Tony from AVRillo. He's going to do a Zoom call with you and literally go through all the fixtures and fitting forms, property information forms, sellers information forms, so that when Stephen finds a buyer for your lovely property, we're all ready to go on day one. Do you think this with technology now is going to make a big difference? And is it something that can help speed up the process, which for me is really important? And as a vendor, if I was selling my property, I read an article today that there's some company that is a conveyancing firm that says, we can sell your property, we will get your property to exchange within 25 days. And if we don't, we'll give you money back. Now, how can they get a property through within 25 days?
Well, I tell you the answer is they can't. Because I think I know which one you're talking about, and we look. Yeah, the answer is I think they can't. I think you have to look at very carefully at the terms and conditions of what they say, because who's going to guarantee a mortgage offer in 25 days? Who's going to guarantee a search in 25 days? So there are things outside your parameters. I think what you said, Steve, is actually really important. I mean, what the big opportunity, I think there's a big, massive opportunity for agents is to start what you've been banging on for years, is to get people ready to sell. I mean, that's a massive opportunity now. Now, in particular, that's what people should be doing, because don't forget, there's a couple of problems. Okay, what we've got, if we've got time, we'll cover it, Steve. The problem with our current pipeline, but what you're going to have is a massive issue when people go back to work after furlough. There's all the current stuff already there. So that's the thing that all the lawyers and all the agents give priority to, because they want to get paid. Now's the time to be getting new stock on, to actually be getting people sales ready. So actually, when it all opens back again, you're ready to go on that as well. But there's going to be a massive bottleneck and now's the time to really take advantage of it. And that's why I'm saying, if you've got knowledge about what you can do, you guys can still market a property, can't you? If you're speaking to your database and saying you come on the, it's an amazing opportunity now, because when it all opens up again, you're gonna have all the new stock and all the current stock is going to be there. So where people are going to give their time to the old stock, because they're going to get paid faster on that. So now's the time to be doing exactly what you've been saying for years, Stephen.
Thank you. And I'm going to come back to you. So again, I just want to say, Kate, hello, thanks for coming from Beaminster. Apologies if I've incorrectly said that. Adrian Cannon, I must say AVRillo have been excellent and proactive during lockdown. So you got at least one fan there, which is great. Hi, Andy Overman. Hi, James Llewellyn. Thanks for joining us again. Please like it, share it, get it out. If there's any other agents there that can benefit from Tony's expertise and knowledge, let's share it with them. That'd be fantastic. So thank you. So in order to get sale ready, what sort of things as an agent should I be advising my vendor? So again, just going back, because I know we've got, I'm very conscious, we've got Paul on here. And we've got Andrew on here, who was Scottish agent, and I know they've got the home condition report there, and that makes it a lot easier. And it'd be great maybe if in England and Wales we have the home condition report. I know we have the home information packs, gone far too old, so all the youngsters on here most probably won't even know what home information packs are. But for me, that was a fantastic tool. But what are some of the things that would help? So I'm at home, or I'm still working. It's about having a pipeline. I've got properties on my books at the moment. How do I educate those vendors? What do they need to do to get sales ready? If you can share some
yes,
tips.
I think the thing is, because I agree with you, Stephen. The home information pack was actually a brilliant thing, but it didn't work very well because none of the stakeholders really spoke to each other, so it failed. But it actually was an amazing concept. Where the opportunity is now, and it say now's the time to do it, because first of all, doing something like this makes you look different from every other agent. And Stephen, as well as I do, we've both of us been talking about this for years. How many agents been talking about it, but no one actually does it. That's the reality. It's not people do one but don't do it consistently. So now is a really good time to make you stand out, to make you look different. And the answer to your question is, because it's a voluntary thing, you can put in that home information pack, call it home information. You could put anything you want in it. I'll tell you what I'd recommend you put in it, but you could put anything you want on it. And it kind of, it depends on what appetite people have got as to how much effort and time and money they want to put into it. But definitely you need to put into it the protocol documents, the Law Society documents. That's always been a no-brainer for me. I don't know why every agent doesn't do that from the start. So that's
and they're all standard.
Yeah, they are. That's right. Yeah, I mean, Property Mark have got a sales kit now that they're promoting as well, and that's good. That's detailed as well. But if you're not going to do that, then at least the protocol documentation. Then you can have the title deeds. Now, title deeds are, inexpensive. You get your lawyers to actually download those. You've got a form of pack already. They're almost ready. Already making a start, already getting information from there. What you really need on top of that is to think and get together with your lawyers. Find out with your lawyers what the problems are in that area. What problems are the buyers going to have? I can tell you what problems I think they're going to have. They're going to have, and again, it depends on the appetite of how much people want to spend, Stephen. But on a sale, one of the things that's going to take ages to get through are management packs. Yeah, because they're all closed, they're all furloughed and things like this. So although they last for a limited amount of time, if you don't start ordering packs now, you're going to be in a massive delay. There's already cases going through who are probably 4 weeks behind, and they may take 4 weeks. So if you don't start ordering now, you might be talking about 2 or 3 months before the pack comes in. So that's a really good thing to include. They cost money because the management company charges for those. But it's
who should be paying for that? Should that be the vendor or should that be the agent?
Well,
or should that be you?
Definitely not me. But no. But I tell you what we do. But in terms of the management pack, I mean, I think it's a matter of negotiation, isn't it? I mean, I think from the agent point of view, cash flow's tough anyway. I don't think they want to pay for that. I think actually it's a conversation you should be having with the vendor to say, look, I can sell your property, but the real problem is getting it through to completion. There's going to be a lot of property that's going to come back on the market very soon, and this is going to get you ready. So I think they should be paying for it.
So your good friend Assad said it should be you.
Oh, he's a good guy, Assad. I like Assad.
Hi Ashley. Hi Alex. Nice to see you. Saul's just asked a question on what we're talking about. Can Tony talk about costs of getting sale ready for the vendor, and if the transaction doesn't proceed, as there will be their concern?
Yeah, okay. So if I just go back, that's a really good question. But if I just go back to the cost of being sale ready, depends on what you want to put in it. So it can be very cheap. It can be cheap. It can be the office copy, and it can be the protocol documentation. That could involve hardly any cost, right? But what I'm saying is, if you really, so that's already good. That's already, I think that will already make you look different if you're going to do that. But if you really want to go ahead, if you really want to sell that property, you got to think about what the buyer is going to have to be delayed on. So it's going to be delayed on the management pack. Question is, I think Assad will pay for everyone's pack, I reckon. But is the vendor going to pay for it? But the other thing, a really big problem, is going to be searches. Searching will be a massive problem. Now we do 99% of our searches that we do through a personal search company. They're much faster, much quicker. Now they're saying that actually we've got a special arrangement with them, so we're going to be faster than this. But they're saying they've got about a 4 to 6 week delay at the moment. 4 to 6 weeks. That's on the current searches. So if you don't start paying for searches now, that's just going to be adding to the time for when you're going to get paid. So management packs, searches should be paid for as well. Now,
how long will a search be valid for then?
Searches are, we would understand they're valid from the date they're issued. So if there's a 2 month delay or 4 week delay, then you add this on top. They're valid for 6 months. The CML handbook say that it's 6 months. There are ways that, well, we're a very commercially based firm, so we take commercial risks and understand the client wants to proceed, and we follow the guidelines from the CML, from the lenders, very strictly. So if you look at those CML guidelines, actually there are ways that you can actually extend that life of that search. So, but strictly speaking, 6 months. So what I'm saying, so in terms of what you should put in, I think that's a great thing to put in. In fact, we've speaking to some of our agents because we think this is such a massive opportunity for them that we're speaking to some of our agents about doing searches for them, where we're actually paying. We are actually, as like this, we're actually doing some of the searches up front. So if we get a development, for example,
you realise this is being recorded as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Assad will be straight on the phone to me. So if there's a development, for example, of we've got 10 properties, what we're proposing to do is do the searches. And so that way we're that further advanced than anyone else. Now we're doing that because we want to look after our agents, because we want our agents to get business. And that, I think that's a big determining thing for them to be able to offer to a developer. So in terms of answering the question, it's a long way, that's a solicitor's way of answering it. The gist of it is it can be pretty cheap. You've got to speak to your lawyers. You've got to speak to your lawyers about what they're willing to do for you. But it can be pretty cheap. You can just include the basics. If you really want to do a turbo version, you include all these extras. One of the things that we do, and again, speak to your lawyers about whether they can do this for you. We enclose a block indemnity insurance. So what that means, everyone argues about indemnity insurance. It comes up always with lawyers. It comes up the last minute, and buyers and sellers, they never want to pay for it. It's last minute. They're expecting to exchange. So to cut all of that out, what we've done is we've organised with an indemnity company that with our version of the HIP, the main problem is indemnities and people arguing about it. So we've included that now within our HIPs that we offer our agents. So for me, that's, it's a no-brainer. If you can get that in, you speak to your lawyers, if they can get that for you, I think that's going to make a massive difference to getting your pipeline moved.
Okay. As a result of what's going on, do you think, what changes do you think we're going to see? Property side, conveyancing side, that will make a difference. And you've got another fan, Assad, says it's a great idea for the developers. So thanks, Assad.
Thank you. Thanks, Assad. So what I reckon there's going to be changes in the industry. I mean, there's been talk in the industry, in the conveyancing industry, for a long time to say that a lot of the lawyers that are doing conveyancing won't be in the conveyancing industry for next sort of in 5 years. The amount of people doing it will be vastly reduced. So I think what this is going to do is going to speed that process up, and lots of lawyers, are not going to want to do conveyancing, because it's become a high risk area. There's lots of compliance to do. There's lots of updates to do. Unless you've got that money and that time to invest in making this conveyancing really progress and go forward, you're not going to be in it. And I think this is just going to speed the process up. So I think a lot of people are going to come out of the market. So I think overall you're going to see a lot less conveyancers. A lot less conveyancers.
You're looking good. Your mum's happy. You're looking good on Facebook.
So I think that's going to be it. And I think hopefully it's going to be a change for the good, in that what's going to happen is that lawyers hopefully are going to adopt some newer principles, and adopt better communication and things like this. So I think actually, in any crisis, there's an opportunity, and you've got to see the good in things, and certainly from our point of view, we're working harder now than we did when lockdown wasn't on, because we're working on ideas to put through to, make it easier for clients to move, make it easier for our clients, for the agents to get to completion. So I think there's going to be hope. I'm an optimistic person, so I'm hoping your lawyers that you're working with are working at their office thinking, how are we going to make things easier for you guys? So I think it's going to be some good out. Although it's a horrible situation, I think there's going to be some good changes out of it.
How can, a lot of agents on here are concerned about their existing pipeline and conserving it. What can they be doing to be safeguarding the buyers? I've been hearing cases of people reducing their prices. So is there something that I should be doing as an agent to keep my pipeline strong?
I think when I was an agent, one thing that you guys, I'm sure, are doing all the time anyway, is obviously you keep on communicating with your buyers to explain to them why they bought the property, because it's all bad news. Everywhere you look is bad news. Everyone's talking about massive price reductions. And my view, it's not going to be the case. My view is we're going to have some short-term pain. All of us are going to have some short-term pain. But I think it's actually, there's a massive pent-up demand in the market. I think actually it's going to be an okay year at the end. But we've got some months of pain, that's for certain. What I think you should do, in addition to actually communicating with the buyer and reminding them why they bought the property, is I think you've got to look at your two massive problems. Your two big problems are going to be your mortgage offers, which are going to expire. The government guidance is that mortgage companies should be working with the lenders to try and yeah, they should be working with the clients to try and extend that mortgage offer up to about 3 months. And that's certainly, we've had information from the panels that we're on to say that they're trying to do that. But obviously that depends on the property. So if, for example, it doesn't make sense for a lender to carry on with that mortgage, they'll probably pull the plug. But actually, I think there's a lot of pressure on the government to actually not get them to pull the plug. So I think you've got to look at mortgages. So I think what you've got to be doing is speaking to your clients. If you've organised the mortgage, fantastic. Speak to the financial advisor that organised that to make sure that they're getting extensions well ahead of time. So that's one thing. The other big thing I would say is searches. Searches, they're going to be out of date. So you must be speaking to your lawyers to see what proposals have they got in place to make sure that have they got any proposals to extend those searches? Can they do that? What arrangements have they got with their search companies? These are conversations you've got to have, because what's going to happen if you don't is you're going to cut everyone. We'll all be back. We'll all be thinking things are going to happen, and nothing happens because the search is expired, the mortgage offer is expired. Now's the time to start doing it. And I think actually that's a massive selling point for you, isn't it? If you're telling your vendor, look, I know about this. I'm thinking of you. I'm going to sell your property. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You speak to the buyer and you tell him, look, I want to look after the property. It's the deal you wanted in the location you wanted. This is what we should be doing together. I think that's a massive, that's going to make you look different. It's going to make you sound different from just going around and saying, do you want to sell your property? Because everyone's saying that.
Okay, so the good-looking brother, Angelo, has said 373,000 property transactions paused during lockdown, with a combined estimated value of 82 billion, amounting to a backlog of 1 billion of estate agency sales. And we're also encouraging our agents to keep talking to their clients. There's going to be a surge of clients wanting to exchange after lockdown. And then Katie from Leader Fox asked, what changes do you think will result of a lockdown to the antiquated legal system?
Well, I think the changes are going to be, there's going to be more. I mean, I think the old way of working was going out, the old way where, people weren't giving updates and there's no portals. I think that more and more the people that are, if you look at the top conveyancers doing business, more of those companies are more modernized and they've got updates and things like this. So I think the majority of the market is moving that way anyway, but I think it's just going to be expedited. So I think there's going to be, more, we love it. We're looking to introduce Zoom now to our clients. So our clients, they've got a call surgery at the moment where they can call in and actually be guaranteed to speak to a lawyer, because that's one of the main gripes, isn't it? The clients can never speak to a lawyer. So they call you guys, having a go at you. So we've already got a surgery, but what we're trying to do now on the back of this is introduce a Zoom. So Zoom because the client can actually call in and speak to their lawyer. So I think that's the way the market's going to go. More. It's better client service, isn't it? Give more of that. We're trying to get. I think lawyers are still paper based to an extent. We've gone completely paperless, but there are still a couple of documents, and you still need to be paper. You still need wet signatures, and the government's looking into that to see whether they can change that. So I'm hoping to become more paperless, faster, more transparent, which is what we all need to get our transactions through.
Okay, so again, can you see more, or is this allowed? Can a solicitor act for both sides?
Yeah, the answer is you can act on both sides. You need to make sure there's no conflicts of interest. The rules for SRA firms, so solicitors regulated firms, and CLC firms, so council licensed conveyancing firms, the rules are slightly different. But in essence, if you are CLC, we're CLC regulated, although I'm a solicitor, we're CLC regulated because they're specialists in conveyancing. So that's why we choose that regulator. And we do act on both sides if there's no conflict. And to be honest with you, Stephen, you're talking about, problems in the chain. This is one of the reasons, if we're on both sides, obviously you can't, it's a Chinese wall. You can't speak to each other. It's like working on another side. But, if there's an issue between the two lawyers, they get in the room and they speak about it. So actually we've got a lot of, those deals are going through. Those deals go through very quickly because we've got control over both the lawyers in terms of, the procedures are the same for everyone. We encourage people to be very vocal. So, but I'm sure your lawyers can do it. The people that you guys are working with, you should speak to them to see whether they can act on both sides. Not all of them will, because they may not have the structures in place to make sure that, one lawyer can't get into the case of the other, because you've got to have very rigid structures in place to make sure that it's like any other deal. But if you've got that, you know, put it this way, the transactions where that happens, our deals already quick, but they go through a lot quicker on those because you can actually just speak to people on the telephone.
Okay, so behind you, there's a sign that says 91% of completions. I can't see 100%.
Paid facts.
So what's all that about? So you can get. Go on, I'll let you explain it.
So the abortive rate in the fall through rate in the UK is it's terrible, isn't it? I mean, you know, it takes so long to get deals through to completion that normally no wonder there's so many abortives, so many deals don't go through. So the national average is probably about 30 to sort of 40%. That's the average fall through rate. So our fall through rate last year was actually, the year before last was 9%. Last year was actually lower than that, but we've not changed our banners yet. But you know, we're very proud of that. But I owe all of that to people like you, Stephen, which talk about estate agency. And it's great customer service. It's actually taking a commercial. You've got to do the right thing. You've got to comply with all the regulations. You've got to comply with what the lender wants. But ultimately, the client, what lawyers sometimes do, they think in their own head about what the client wants. The reality is the clients want to move. They don't want 100% legal title. They want to be able to buy that property, sell that property without any problems. And that's the real criteria. If you can comply with what the government want, what the lender wants, and what the client wants, you give them opportunities to go. So we get a lot of our deals through. So we're very proud that it's through a lot of hard work, you know, and thinking very differently and picking up the phone, you know, making sure that, you know, if there are issues, we speak to people to find out what the issues are. We do a lot of things and it's hard work, but actually we're very proud of what we've achieved.
Well done. How easy is it to change solicitors if you're really not happy with the solicitors? I mean, for me, I think I would always have a recommended solicitor, full stop. Yeah. You know, it's so much easier. Hi, Stephen. Nice to see you. I'm not saying hi to myself, by the way, Tony. I know I'm mad, but I'm not that mad.
In reflection, yeah.
Exactly. And now Stephen's put me off my next question, whatever it was. So, Tony, what was I going to ask next?
Someone remind us. I don't know. You said about oh gosh, I've forgotten, Stephen. Stephen's put us off.
Okay, so let's talk about reservation.
Oh, recommended solicitors.
Yeah, recommended solicitors and reservation agreements. So recommended solicitors, from my point of view, when I was an agent many yesterday, it was a lot easier to me to pick up the phone and have a conversation. So I know, actually, joking aside, we did have exchanges on a Friday evening on a Sunday. And I think, again, you know, for people to understand that it's easy to pick up the phone. You've got a better relationship. You'll communicate better with that solicitor. You know, Tony would always tell me exactly what I needed to do. So I was incredibly proactive as an agent and would run around and go to freeholders' houses to get the necessary paperwork in order to exchange. But you know, why do you think it's important to have a recommended solicitor?
I think it's really important. I mean, I think that's always been the. I think that the problem is sometimes the market. We always think it's a bad market, don't we? You know, I've been in property for a long time, and every time there's been a problem, I've always thought it's a bad market. You know, it's always like that. So I think one of the problems that people have is when you sold the property, you're just so happy to have sold that property. You don't want to sell the FS or conveyancing, but actually, it's going to be a reframe. You know, it's even more important now. So the reframe is you've got to understand, and I'm sure you do understand, but the reality is, unless you're getting your conveyancer and your financial advisor on that case, you've got a good chance of that deal not going ahead. You know, so you've got to train not only the people that are running the business, but everyone's got to understand that actually we need to push a bit more, and we need to explain why it's great to have that recommended solicitor. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are experts in your field. You wouldn't recommend anyone unless you thought they're actually very good and actually get that deal through with, which is what the client wants. And you know what it's like. I mean, the most common complaint is you got it through to a lawyer that, you know, maybe that's not their entire job. You know, they do other bits and pieces. So, you know, people get upset with those because they're not always in the office. So I think, it's same stuff, Stephen. We've been saying this for years, and we have been saying it when we had an agency. Get the financial services sorted, you got to get the conveyancing sorted, because that's it. We don't get paid unless it completes. Agents and ourselves. You don't get, so you've got to put that in. There's no point. It's no point just putting the deal together. Clients don't want that. They want to move. They're not going to thank you just by getting lots of offers on the property. They're going to thank you for moving them, and that's why it's really important to get it.
Okay, and also about being on panels, because some solicitors aren't panels, and then you've got to go through 2 different solicitors as well. So where would you ask that question to see whether they're on a panel?
I think the thing is, you've got to strip it back a bit, and you've got to understand there's 2 different types of people we're talking about. We're talking about your recommended solicitors, where you should be asking everything. They should be part of your team. It should be like they're sitting next to you in the office. You should know what panels they're on. And then you've got the other solicitors, which it's all guesswork, isn't it? Because sometimes they don't, maybe they don't tell you, or maybe they don't know who the client's getting the mortgage through to start off with. What we do is, in our instruction, clients can instruct us through an app. We've got a selection of the lenders that are there, and if we're not on the panel, we let them know straight away. I mean, we're on 99% of the people's panels, and there's hundreds of mortgage companies, and no one's going to be on everyone's panel. Even the biggest conveyancers in the country, they're not on everyone's panel. But you've got to find, I'm sure the lawyers that you're working with, actually, if they're on Santander, Halifax, all the big guys, you're probably going to be okay most of the time. So, but it is a problem. If you have to get separate representation, it is a problem, and it does slow it down.
Okay, so couple of final questions. Can you change solicitors in the process if you're not happy with your solicitor? Is that a real pain in the backside?
Yeah, I mean, you can change solicitor, you can change that, but that really should be a last resort for you. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's, you've got process to go through before you get to that stage, because first of all, even if you transfer it to a lawyer that you think is very good, that lawyer's probably going to have to start the work from the beginning. So, if the lawyer, there must be a reason you're changing lawyers, and maybe that lawyer wasn't very good. So maybe the searches he didn't do very good. Maybe the inquiries he didn't do very good. So you probably find that your new person is going to start the whole process again. It can happen, but you've got to think about whether it should happen. The other thing is, I think before you get to that point, the client's got to have a conversation with that lawyer to say, look, I'm going to change lawyers. I'd love to go ahead with you, but unless you can resolve it, I'm going to go. First port of call for me is to go to speak to your complaints partner. And if that doesn't resolve it, then you may have to change this. But I think it's really the last resort.
Okay, and final question: reservation agreements. Is that something that you are openly promoting? Is it something that you think will work? I know when I was at Green and Company, we had something called a goodwill charter, which was an anti-gazumping, gazundering tool, where we found that we sold, instead of selling 6 out of 10 properties, we sold 9 out of 10 properties to people that committed to it. So the artist would put down £1,000. If the vendor pulled out because he got more money, that money would go to the purchaser. If the purchaser pulled out, not because of bad survey, search, or legal title, but just got cold feet, and that £1,000 will go to the vendor. As I said, we found more deals go through. Obviously, that didn't work when it came to people in a chain. I know you've got something, you've got Gazelle out there now. I was looking at this, but your thoughts?
Okay, so I'd like to think it can work, but I've not seen one working at the moment. But I've not looked at all the products. That's what I can say. I mean, I think it's a good idea in theory, but if it only really works if you're the sole agent, because otherwise you've got one agent that is doing a reservation agreement, the other one isn't. Okay, so that doesn't work. Then the other practical problem is that you tend to find that the lawyers get involved and they spend ages arguing about the reservation agreement. So rather than actually start doing the conveyancing, they're spending 2 or 3 weeks just to be in the reservation agreement. And normally what happens is by the end of that 2 or 3 weeks, everyone says, oh, let's just get on with it. So I'm not saying that's not enough. I don't think, I don't know digital products fully at the moment. I know they recently changed it. But all I know is I haven't seen a product that I think is going to go mass market at the moment. But I'd like to think that it could work in the future, but I don't think it works at the moment.
And I know the government's looking into that. So watch this space. Tony, you have been amazing. Thank you very much for being the first guest on Lunchtime Learnings. So there you go. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate your time.
Cheers.
On Thursday at 12:30, we got Susie Crowler, who's the CEO of a Guild of Letting Management, who's going to be sharing her tips and knowledge on all things lettings. So again, if you've got any questions, please do let me know. If you've got any friends, estate agents, colleagues that you think will benefit from listening to this, please like it, share it, tag them in, because we really want to help the industry. Andrea, sorry, and Paul, it wasn't very related to Scotland. Angelo, you're very welcome. I did say you were the better looking one, but you're equal now. Max, thanks very much for joining us. Luke, thanks again. Chris, thank you. Saul, thanks very much. Tony, thanks a lot. Really grateful.
Thank you.
And keep on getting those deals over the line.
Will do.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.